Hell on earth. Hell on earth. Someone tweeted, oh, it's all made up. It's not made up. A child died in front of me yesterday. Okay, I saw an 8-year-old child with her face blown off. Mm-hmm. She watched her family die, and they shot her from the side. Her face is gone, and she's alive. This is so real. It's so real, and the West media won't wake up. They don't care.
Across the Middle East, children are suffering. Minority families, Christians, Druze, Alawites, even the Yazidis are hunted by extremist jihadist groups that brand them all as infidels. This isn't about politics. It's a war on the innocent. Girls sold like property, forced marriages, trafficking across borders, and boys torn from their homes, drilled and turned into fighters. Entire families have vanished, and thousands of children are still missing. Their names swallowed by camps, by prisons, and the black market. This is what a death cult truly looks like. The land of Syria shows the pain in real time. In the south, even hospitals weren't safe. Uniformed men filmed killing an unarmed civilian inside Suwaida's main hospital. And across the country, the ground itself is a trap. Landmines and leftover bombs keep shredding small bodies long after battles have moved on. More than 100 children were killed or wounded in a single month from unexploded bombs. Kids just walking to school or playing in a field. Across the Middle East, historic Christian communities have been battered by persecution under jihadist violence and instability. Whole districts in Iraq and Syria were emptied, while Lebanon's Christian population has more than halved in size. Many ran away under the immense pressure. Meanwhile, much of the world looks away from this horror, yet never looks away from the land of Israel. You'll hear accusations by the hour, but not the part where the IDF fights under a written moral code and broadcasts warnings to keep civilians out of the line of fire. You never hear about that. But while terror groups hide behind those same civilians and feed the cameras, that's the playbook. Human shields above ground, tunnels below, propaganda on every single screen. The truth is often buried, but lies have short legs. And today, I'm meeting with Tim Ballard, a Christian witness who just came back from deep within Syria. He's seen the evil up close and is on a mission to save suffering children and to tell the truth. But before we do, please like and subscribe and stay connected to the real truth in real time. So Tim, you just came back from Syria.
Yes, sir.
I got the chance to visit there several times in recent years, but you got deeper than I've ever been.
Yeah, they sure are.
We've tried our best to report on what's been happening with the Druze. We're talking about an even bigger picture. People, they see this and see yet another regional conflict to them. And yet, we've been seen firsthand here, which is every time there's a conflict in this region, every time there's a new leader, the first to suffer, the second to suffer, the third to suffer are the minorities. Yep. First it was the Alawites, and we said, oh, it's because of this. Then it was the Christians, then it was the Druze. It's always the minorities that suffer in the Middle East. What are you seeing there? What did you see?
Exactly that. And I'm not new to this. I mean, I led efforts between 2017 and 19 in the Nineveh Plains in northern Iraq. Same ideology, same evil people. You know, they occupied Mosul and made sex slaves out of the Yazidi. Yeah. Children, Christian children, and it's the same story. And the minorities are always getting beat up first. And Christians, as you know, are the #1 persecuted group in the world. And here we have the West, who's supposed to be this Christian-loving people, don't want to talk about it. I think they're blinded by this smoke screen of deception about what this conflict is actually about. It's a 1,400-year-old conflict. It's never changed. From day one, we have all the data we need, and yet we still get smoke screened by politicians, including conservative. It's bizarre to me, but we're gonna change it. I'm gonna do everything I can to change it.
You're in Syria.
Yeah.
And I think the big unknown here, like the X in the equation is, why is it that this thing is happening and no one's talking about it? Maybe it blipped on the headlines for a couple days, and oftentimes it said, and I remember this amusingly, it says Israel attacks in Syria. Meanwhile, there's literally an attempted genocide taking place in Syria, and no one's talking about it.
I'm not a politician. I don't have a network. I have no agenda to carry other than rescuing God's children. That's it. That's it. Because the lies are hurting my efforts to rescue children. Truthfully, that's what's going on. The same people who used to support me are hurting me by lying about the conflict in Israel. What's happening is genocide. It's October 7th, but on steroids. There's 700,000 Druze and Christians. These Druze people are amazing. I've been in their homes. I've been gathering intel, going to their villages. And they are from the lineage of Jethro. Okay? Jethro is a very important person in the Old Testament. Jethro rehabilitated Moses. Jethro taught Moses how to establish a government. It's all there, so he could do it right. The founding fathers of America utilized more than any other source the Old Testament to create one nation under God. We're connected in more ways than one to these people, and they're the praetoriat for the Christians. The 3 Christian villages in the last weeks that we're just there were slammed, ripped apart, crosses burning. And who took them in? Who took care of them? The Druze people, under the tradition of their father Jethro, they took them in. So we all are connected to this in multiple ways, and it's genocide. It's an evil ideology that teaches them to kill the infidels. Christians and Druze and Jews are infidels, and that's what they're doing. There's only one thing: we got to kill them, because God will be happy and give us, 42 virgins in heaven if we do it. That's what this is. It's that stark, and it's that evil. These are peaceful villages. They support the governments. They want to participate with Damascus, just like they participate here. I mean, I can't tell you how many Druze soldiers I met who work in and proudly with their brothers in the IDF. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
You present this question mark saying, look, people around the world are quiet about what's been happening in Syria. And I'll say this, I look at this from someone who lives in the Middle East, and I look at it and I say there's a systematic, intentional ignorance of what's happening here, where unless it's a topic that clicks exactly into place where they can say, oh, I know this one, I'm for Israel, I'm against Israel, it just never hits the radar for anyone. And it happened in Iraq, it happened with ISIS, it happened with the Arab Spring. And you look at this, like, these people declare themselves to be like the beacons of justice and hope around the world, and yet they're silent every time something goes wrong. Just last month, the US pulls out Ashar's government, so El Julani, depending on the day of the week, whatever his name is, they pull him out of like the most wanted list and say, look, this guy's reformed. He's no longer the arch terrorist that he was a couple of years ago, the fight alongside ISIS and Bab al-Shabaab and all these different organizations. Now he's a different guy. He's wearing a suit. Now he speaks nicely. He's the same guy he was before. But they choose to ignore what he's actually doing and follow the rhetoric because for some reason it's more comfortable for them. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe you have a better explanation to that.
Well, the only way I can explain it is you can say what you want, but action is what tells me who you are. Yeah. And he's letting this happen. If he didn't do it himself, he's letting it happen. We're screaming to him to stop it, help it. We can get provisions, and the IDF is ready to go. But the roads are blockaded right now. People are dying right now as we're talking. And so, look, I don't care what you're wearing. I don't care what your past was. If you're reformed or not, show me. Just show me right now. You can do it right now and show me.
So what can people do? Someone sitting at their house in Canada, North America, Philippines, wherever they are.
First and foremost, educate yourself. Okay, I'm doing everything I can on my social media, and we're putting all the raw footage. Luckily, we're not being censored, thank God, because we need to show people what's happening. The people also donate to us, the Tim Ballard Foundation. We literally stood up the foundation just for this. We weren't planning on doing it. We just stood it up because we're like, we need help right now. But I'll tell you what, I thought we were the tip of the spear when we got here last week, getting into Syria. Once we got there, guess who we bumped into? It's the IDF.
Yes.
No cameras. They don't know what's going on. I'm going to be their voice because they're out there forward deployed. They don't care. Christian, Druze, there's no Jews out there. They're out there because it's the right thing to do, because they love God and they love their neighbor. And they're literally bringing in Christians and Druze and saving their lives. I watched them do it. And they're weeping over these people. That's who the IDF is. That's who Israel is. Yeah. And no one asked me to say this. No one's paying me anything. I rescue kids. And whatever truth I need to fill that gap so I can do that, I'm going to tell it. And that's the truth. The truth is the IDF is the tip of the spear in rescuing these people, and they're doing it without cameras. Well, I got cameras on me, and I'm going to tell the truth about what's happening.
So let me ask you a philosophical question. I feel sometimes people are uncomfortable admitting that there's evil in the world. And I'll explain what that means. There's a thread that connects the radical Muslims in Syria right now that are killing the Jews and the Christians and the Alawites, to ISIS, to Gaza, Hamas. It's the same ideological movement. It's called the Muslim Brotherhood. It's a stream within Sunni Islam that is radical, that is violent, that is systemically and consistently brought death and destruction to the countries they were involved in. And I think in a lot of people's head, they have this aversion to just pointing and saying, there's good here, and these guys are just pure evil. And we need to fight against the evil with everything we have. And it's like this very standoffish, oh, we don't want to say something that will offend them. Why can't you just be honest about this?
Be honest.
Just be honest.
It is that stark. It is that black and white, evil and good. That's what this war, it really is. It 100% is. And you mentioned the Muslim Brotherhood. Guys, wake up. This whole thing, people in their minds think that the Palestinians are some kind of race, it's some kind of ethnic group. No, guys, Yasser Arafat, he was imported by the Muslim Brotherhood and create a nation concept that's tricking the West just to wreak havoc and kill Jews and minorities. The devil's real. I'm sorry, I know I've been in the trenches fighting the children. Believe me, that's a spiritual warfare, and evil always uses deception. That's what the devil uses. And my country and the West is falling for the smokescreen. It's part of the evil tactic. It's deception. People got to wake up, study. I tell people that if you don't spend at least 25 hours studying real material on both sides, study both sides, and then get your butts to Israel and let someone walk you into Gaza. Let someone walk you to the border of Syria. Then you can begin to talk. Don't even talk. Don't even talk, because you're hurting my efforts to rescue kids. You're hurting the U.S. efforts to survive if you keep lying.
It's more than that, though. I think people have this issue where they're afraid of experiencing pain and discomfort. So they try to, they skirt around the painful topics and just want to have this, automatic, Pavlovian response and never talk about the real thing. I look at this through the weakest. How does it affect the children? And if they're suffering? I'm measuring this in a biblical sense. By the way, both biblical, Old Testament and New Testament justice, they look at a very narrow prism. And the narrow prism always is the orphan, the widow, the poor, and the foreigner in your land.
That's right.
Always the same theme.
That's right.
From one cover to the other, it's always the same theme. How do you measure justice? It's through the weakest elements in society.
100%.
I really appreciate you doing this. Forget everything else. Forget the political discussion. Forget the agenda. The question is, what is it doing to the people on the ground? And if you look at it from that prism, it's much easier to decipher who's the right and who's in the wrong in the conversation.
And Nelson Mandela said this. He said, the only way to truly gauge the benevolence of a society is how are they treating the children? My whole worldview is through the eyes of a suffering child, and that changes everything. If there really is evil, and there is, okay?
Yeah.
Sometimes it dresses up as Maoist China, sometimes it dresses up as Stalinist, the Soviet Union, or Nazism, or political Islam. It's the same evil, it's the same fruits. And at the bottom of those fruits are children being abused. And every one of those instances in history, you see that. And so then you can identify the evil a lot more accurately. It's oppression. It's forced conversion to an ideology. I just got video from my guys inside Shweta just today. This old Christian woman loves the Lord, and the jihadists are in there forcing her to convert to Islam, saying the words, or she can't get the life-saving medical treatment that she needs. It's disgusting. You don't get a relationship with God, okay, by being forced into it. Yeah. It's impossible. Jesus says, I knock at the door. You don't have to answer, but if you do, boom, that's your experience. Even Muslims can apply this to their God. But if you're like this, do it, there's no spiritual experience, which means that these jihadists aren't trying to create spiritual experiences. It's a political movement, and it's about power and dominance. It's not religion. It's not religion.
The Middle East is complicated. Evil thrives here and wears many faces.
But in the middle of it all is Israel, fighting terrorist regimes that glorify death.
Yet somehow, we're called the aggressor.
Because evil has hijacked the narrative and twisted the truth.
When the truth dies, freedom dies with it.
So guys, if you want to help us share the truth, donate now, stand with Israel, stand with the truth.
How can an ideology that claims to be godly practice such violence and such evil? And yet, thousands of Westerners flood the streets insisting Israel is the problem. Israel, a democracy with equal rights for all, cares for the vulnerable in society, both theirs and around the world. It fights to defend life while its enemies glorify death. It is time for people to wake up and educate themselves on the truth. I want to give you some context, and I'd be interested to hear your perspective. People talk, they like fighting about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It's like this very sexy topic, always, for some reason.
Trying to be cool.
Yeah, so they have an opinion, they watch 2 YouTube videos, they think they know how to fix the world. Everything will be fixed if 1, 2, 3, 4, and they know nothing about what happened here. You've been to Gaza during this visit?
Not yet.
You need to go.
We're heading, yeah.
So there, I'll tell you, there's a couple border crossings. You go, it's like a huge port. As far as the eye can see, pallets and pallets and pallets full of goods. Some of them are rotting in the sun. Why are they rotting in the sun? I'm telling you from first sources, there are people that made a decision that they're willing to see people in Gaza starve and suffer as long as it doesn't allow Israel to look good.
That's right.
That's how crazy it is. And they blame us. They point a finger at us and say, you're the evil ones. They're willing to allow Palestinians to suffer as long as Israel's the bad guy.
The Palestinians are just as much the victims as the Israelis that got beat up on October 7th. Just as victims as the Syrian Christians and Druze are. They're being victimized and used. They're being used not only as human shields, right, but for a propaganda, for this deception, the smokescreen. Look, the most debasing thing, the most grotesque thing on the planet is the abuse of children. Yeah. So when I look at it through spiritual eyes, why is that? I know why. The closest thing we have to God, the closest thing to the image of God on this planet, are children. I've watched 7 babies be born, okay? And they are godly. They come from God's hands. I can't explain it. And so if you look at it through spiritual eyes from that point, evil's gonna use every tactic possible to continue the crushing of innocent people, children mostly, and then put the smoke screen up so no one can see it. And half my country, including who I used to consider the good guys, are buying it.
So we've been talking a lot about the deception. And we've been just talking off camera. There was an interview that Tucker Carlson does just the other day with a nun, and they make some very bold claims about what's happening in Israel. Yeah. What do you have to say about that?
Stop giving voice to people who spew misinformation, Tucker. I love Tucker. I love Tucker. I don't know what's going on. It's complete baloney. What she's saying is the Israelis are persecuting Christians, and the evidence she's providing is the fact that in the occupied zones, the Christians are getting pounded. No. I've worked in Iraq. I've worked all over in the Middle East. Okay, I'm a little worried about being a Christian there. Look what I'm wearing.
Yeah, not in Israel.
How much have I been persecuted here? I'm embraced here by the Jewish people because they will give their lives for my ability to express my belief in Jesus through this hat. I promise you this. I've worked in 30 countries. I feel the safest as a Christian here than anywhere else. And let me tell you something else. We can look at this through the eyes of the Druze people. Beautiful people, right? If Israel's a bunch of land-grabbing predators, like
people are saying we are,
want to say, why do the Druze love Israel? Why are the Druze signing up voluntarily to be combatants in the IDF?
They know the truth.
They know the truth.
Yeah. It feels like the American, let's call it conservative audience, they went from, we care about Israel, but sometimes we have criticism, to suddenly you hear voices, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, voices that were pro-Israel in the past that have become not only anti-Israel, it almost sounds anti-Semitic at times.
Absolutely, it does.
And that's what blows my mind, and I'm sure you've experienced the same. It's like, how do you not see this?
It's so
evident that this is that's false. Clearly, Israel isn't starving the people in Gaza. Clearly, Hamas is evil.
The opposite.
Yeah, it's clearly.
The opposite is true.
There's absolutely no debate about it. How do you look at the facts and see the opposite? And it's their minds and their spirits are twisted because something is struggling there not to recognize what God is doing in this land.
That's right.
It's that fundamental, I think, on a faith level.
And if you don't pay attention to what's happening in Israel, Israel is the vanguard of what's going to happen in the West.
Yes.
Everything happening here is what happened with King David and the whole Old Testament story. It's an extension of that story. And if we don't watch Israel very closely and support the side of righteousness, it's going to come to us. It's already there. Yeah. That evil seed is already planted in the West. The United States is next. And if we don't wake up and use modern day history of Israel as our map, we're done. We're done. We're done. And we don't have much time.
Just to give you a tidbit of my personal story, I spent, I want to say, going on like 340 days in reserve since October 7th, 2023. I have 3 kids, very, very rough time for the family. But in that time, people, they keep asking, oh, I bet it's such a rough time, such a rough time. So, no, it's been the most clarifying season of my life. For once, this happens once in a lifetime. You're sucked out of everyday life. I'm not, in management, not in leadership of other people. I'm leading my soldiers in the battlefield. And in that time, we know exactly who the enemy is. We know exactly what we're fighting for. And that was vague before October 7th, 2023. You know, we lost touch of like what good was, what evil was. People in Israel were very like in this humanistic and, you know, almost materialistic mindset. And, you know, it got snapped out of us. It's like, wake up, guys, remember where you are. And remember that you have to fight for the promise. We realized that we're in a biblical battle once more, that they're the Amalekites, not in the sense just of biblical hatred, in the sense that we're fighting against people that have been corrupted by evil. And we have to fight for what God gave us. We're here because God put us here. And that moment is, you know, that doesn't come twice in a lifetime, I hope. You know, it's just a really clarifying, really, you know, cleansing moment of focus as a nation. I hope, to your point, that other nations don't have to experience that firsthand. Because if you don't see that, if they're not able to look at what's happening here, if they can't say this is evil and this is good, it ends up at their doorstep. It ends up at their kids being assaulted. It ends up at their countries being stolen and taken over by radicals. There's no end to it.
That's right. Have you seen Son of Freedom?
I have not.
I
apologize.
That. It's okay. I'm going to walk off the set now. Okay. But
I understand that it's fair.
Go watch it. But there's a line in Son of Freedom, and Jim Caviezel plays me in the film, right? And he's trying to convince someone of this very thing you're saying. He's like, wake up now, wake up now. And then he says, and if you don't, you will have a nightmare so devastating, and it's a nightmare you'll never wake up from when it happens to you. Yeah. And it's coming. And I issue that same advisement to the West and to America in particular. It's coming. It will be a nightmare you will not wake up from. You better wake up now. And we don't have a lot of time.
You've traveled a lot, more than I have, around the world. Have you ever met a Muslim or any religion person who comes to faith in Christ and hates the Jewish people?
Zero.
Exactly.
It's impossible.
There's a solution. And it sounds like this like philosophical and over-spiritual solution. Oh, it's all, you know, at the cross, all, you know, it is. I've met Iranians who come to faith, they love Israel. I've met Muslims who are terrorists, they've come to faith, they love Israel. I never met a single one of them that comes to faith, denies Islam or whatever religion he's coming from, opens the Bible and says, nah, I hate the Jewish people. It's always the opposite. A supernatural love to the Jewish people and the land of Israel, and a supernatural love across the board. That's really the only solution. You know, if I take this to a place of optimism versus, you know, just feeling down from this whole conversation, you know, and feeling pain for all the suffering that's in the world, it's all people say, well, what can I do? Pray. Pray.
This is why I live as much as I can in the spiritual realm, because we know how the game ends. Yeah. I know how the game ends, right? Yes. I know the good wins in the end. I know what happens at the end. And what we need to do is our best to bring that light and that righteousness until the Messiah comes. Yes. And when he comes, we win. But we have to do all we can in the meantime. And we're going to be beat up, but we just keep going and get as many as we can to prepare for that beautiful day that will come. And that's where I get my hope.
While extremist jihadist movements have sunk roots not only in the Middle East, but across North Africa and beyond, and their reach is testing to see if the free world's courage still exists, our traditions of liberty, of conscience, and of equal dignity are all at risk. Children are being stolen and scarred. Women are being oppressed, and minorities are driven from their homes. So what will it take for the world to wake up? Must the violence reach your own doorstep? I want you to remember that there is a God, and Israel is at the center of it all, fighting this evil, for the most part, alone. So are courageous Christians, the likes of Tim Ballard, who are saving lives and bringing the truth to light. Don't look away. Share what you know. Stand with Israel in its fight against evil. Stand with the vulnerable. Stand with the oppressed. We are living in very dangerous times. But guys, God will prevail. Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.